Good day, everyone. Our discussion for today is about outcome-based education. What is outcome-based education? It is a model of education that rejects the traditional focus on what the school provides to students, in favor of making students demonstrate that they know and are able to do whatever the required outcomes are. It is an education in which an emphasis is placed on a clearly articulated idea of what students are expected to know and be able to do. That is, what skills and knowledge they need to have when they leave the school system. Outcome-based education, or the UBE system, is being widely used by leading institutions across the world. Many of the educators have developed a curiosity to understand the reason behind the ongoing learning transformation. Well, the reason is simply outcome-based education, or UBE, is a student-centric educational model that maps and measures students' performance at every step. The UBE model aims to maximize student learning outcomes by developing their knowledge and skills. The outcome-based education system, also referred to as a standard-based education, has proven to be a success in helping institutions measure their learning outcomes and at the same time enabling students to develop new skills that prepare them to stand out with their global counterparts. Who is known as a father of outcome-based education? A renowned academician and psychologist, William G. Spady, best known as the father of outcome-based education, had coined the term UBE in the year 1988. This blog aims at helping educators, faculty, and educationalists to understand the concept of UBE and how it can help in maximizing their students' success. He is largely noted for his works that attempt to expand and enhance the philosophical grounding and performance of educators, leaders, educational systems, and learners. In 1997, the Council of Education Ministers made the decision to replace old apartheid curriculum with a new outcome-based education curriculum in the general and further education and training bands. The new curriculum was introduced in general education and training in 1998. Spady William G. Outcome-based education means clearly focusing and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experiences.
What are outcomes? Outcomes are clear learning results, actions, products, performances. When learners do important things with what they know. Principles of outcome-based education. Student-centered. As a learning model, outcomes-based education starts by asking, what does a learning used to do demonstrate mastery of a particular skill, knowledge, or behavior? Such an approach puts students' needs at the center of the learning design process. Clarity. Given that all learning objects and outcomes-based education model are clearly spelled out ahead of time, learners what's expected of them and can adjust their focus and question more appropriately. Flexibility. An outcomes-based education model must be flexible enough to adjust to a learner's strengths and weakness. Flexibility is also important for providing learners enough time to attain fluency or proficiency. What are the advantages of outcome-based education? Other educational models. How does it differ? While the similarities between outcomes mastery and competency-based learning models are clear, the differences are a bit subtler. Competency-based learning is generally a self-paced model that falls under the umbrella of outcomes, but with specific learning objectives often relating to workplace needs. All three learning models focus primarily on the steps and methods that lead to proficiency. The major difference is that OB includes an additional component that directly addresses a critical point.
What are the roles of teacher in outcome-based education? So first is, teacher must create a positive learning environment. This means get to know your student by name as quickly as possible. Get to know some personal things about each student. Also, allow them to show their feelings and encourage them to listen to each other. Give compliments, express gratitude, and practice problem solving together. Second, teacher must help a student to understand why they have to learn. So, teacher inspire a student in all aspects of their lives, and their goal is to become a good role model. Teachers can inspire an interested student to become active in learning, to motivate them to participate and focus on their school or learn new things. Third, teachers must use a variety of methods of instruction and combination of strategies as what is recommended. So, using a variety of strategies ensure that the student have an opportunity to work with any different group members. So, there are many teaching strategies for all students or every student. Let me show to you. First is model as you teach. When presenting a new subject to your class, it helps to include a demonstration. In certain classes, this is practically required. For example, when you're teaching a math unit, you'll usually need to display your work on the board, or else your student will be completely lost. This is how the class can follow along with better comprehension. In today's society, as you can see that some students will need to see more than one example to get a good understanding. Make sure that you include several different demonstrations for each new unit. As repetition is a big part for committing new ideas to memory, you'll see a big difference in visual student test scores when you implement this method. Next is work as a team. Splitting the class step into different teams, complete an assignment is a teaching strategy that works wonders, especially at age groups where students insist on always working with a tight-knit circle of friends. Group assignment encourage teamwork and help your class to succeed. For example, in science, you can split the class into small groups for lab-based assignments and give each person a certain job to complete. You might have one person that perform of the experiment and another write notes and someone else read the instructions. All in all, group work is a fun and interactive way to teach a lesson. Integrate technology into the classroom. Technology is perhaps the most powerful tool you have at your disposal. So, sa panahon ngayon, more on technology na yung ginagamit, especially online class. It's an essential part of modern job and has a lot to offer in the way of education. Like computers, laptops, and tablets can allow you to enhance your lesson plans with online educational activities. There are several free resources that you can access with a simple Google search. Try looking up educational videos or playing free math and science games. Yes, nakakadagdag din talino yung mga games ng math, science, or English. So your student will not only enjoy the time they spend online but also gain a deeper understanding of your classwork. Yes, use all the resources you have at your disposal to your advantage. You'll have a more engaged and motivated group of students as a result. Last is let the students teach. Letting students lead a class and teaching requires preparation and a deep understanding of coursework. You can assign these tasks individually or break up students into groups. The goal of this strategy is to get your students to display the knowledge they have to share it with their classmates. In order to give a quality lesson, they will need to put extra time into making sure they fully comprehend the project. If they struggle in some areas, they will be motivated to ask questions in order to get the grade. After the presentation is over, ask your student to reflect on the project as a whole. You want them to evaluate what went well, what didn't, and what could be done differently in the future. More importantly, you want your student to focus on not only what they learned, but also how they learned it. This builds independent, confident learners who have a clear path to success. Fourth, teacher must provide a student with sufficient opportunities to practice using knowledge and skills. First is teach collaborative as values and skills. Teach tolerance and resilience. And last is use learning beyond the classroom. So last, teachers' role in outcome-based education is teachers must help a student to bring each learning episode to a personal closure. First is do more listening than talking. Dominate the conversation. Provide opportunities for students to express their feelings. And last is invite your student to draw and write their experience and feelings.
The outcomes of education. Outcomes-based education focuses classroom instruction on the skills and competencies that students most demonstrate when they exit. There are two types of outcomes, immediate and different outcomes. Immediate outcomes are competence acquired upon completion of the subject, a grade level, a judgment of the program or of the program itself. Examples: ability to communicate in writing and speaking. Mathematical problem-solving skills. Skills in identifying objects by using different senses. Skills in storytelling. Graduation from a program. Passing a required licensure exam. Well-defined outcomes refers to the ability to apply cognitive, psychomotor, and affective skills competencies in various situations many years after the completion of subject, grade level, or degree program. Success in professional practice or occupation.
What is the relationship between program objectives and student learning outcomes and OBE? First, let us know what is program objectives and student learning outcomes. Program objectives. Broad goals the program expects to achieve, such as to create, to offer, to motivate, etc., from the point of view of the faculty or the program itself. Objectives are expressed as cognitive, psychomotor, and affective goals, focus on the well-rounded and profession-specific development of students. These are different outcomes of education program which are observable and verified years after graduation. Student learning outcomes. Student learning outcomes are operational definition of each of the program objectives, stated as active transitive verb such as to demonstrate, to express, to illustrate, and to apply, are immediate outcomes of education. Sample program objectives and student learning outcomes. Program objectives: to provide instruction in order to enable students to understand the interrelationship among social and cultural bases of human behavior. Student learning outcomes. Student can describe critical cross-cultural differences in human behavior and explain their interplay among social and culture. Students can describe critical similarities in human behavior and explain their interplay among social and culture. Program objectives: to equip students with knowledge of research methods appropriate to investigate in sociocultural and anthropological settings. Student learning outcomes: student can identify, define, and give examples of various methods in ethnographic and anthropological research. Student can explain and interpret research methodology in selected ethnographic and anthropological literature. Students can submit a research proposal on a selected ethnic group and the community. Program objectives: to encourage in students an appreciative understanding of and respect of cultural differences. Student learning outcomes: student can demonstrate evidence of the unique social organization characteristic of the culture of selected ethnic group and the region. Students can submit creative expression and visual art or literature of the cross-cultural differences of selected ethnic group. Student involvement in the classroom is a key part of OBE. Students are expected to do their own learning so that they gain a full understanding of the material. Increased student involvement allows students to feel responsible for their own learning, and they should learn more through their individual learning. Another aspect of involvement is parental and community involvement while development curriculum or making changes to it. OBE outcomes are meant to be decided upon with the social system or at local level. Parents and community members needed to give input in order to uphold and understand education within the community and to ensure that students will be prepared for life after school.
Active learning is a form of learning in which teaching strives to involve students in the learning process more directly than in other methods. Active learning is a process whereby students engage in activities such as reading, writing, discussion, or problem solving that promote analysis, synthesis, and evaluation of class content. From active learning, there are a diverse range of alternatives for the term active learning, like the learning through play, technology-based learning, activity-based learning, group work, project method. Above the factor behind these are some significant qualities and characteristics of active learning. Barnes, 1989, suggested principle of active learning. Purposive, the relevance of the task with the students concerned. Reflective, students' reflection on the meaning of what is learned. Negotiated, negotiation of goals and methods of learning between students and teachers critical, student appreciation different ways and means of learning content. Complex, students compare learning tasks with complexities existing in real life and make a reflective analysis. Active learning exercises and techniques, a class discussion, a think pair share, a collaborative learning group, a student debate, a reaction to a video, a small group discussion, a class game.
Outcome-Based Assessment by Villanova Lorlisi, B.Ed 2A. What is outcome-based assessment? Outcome-based assessment is a deliberate collection of evidence of a student learning based on outcomes. It yields a mark relative to the outcomes rather than other students. What is an outcome? An outcome is how a teacher will define what students need to know. The basic idea of outcome-based assessment is that teachers need to be able to define in the language used can understand in the key content for which teacher and students are responsible for. So, what does this mean for students? It means being clear expectation for success, being prepared to demonstrate what you know, and taking responsibility for what you don't yet know, and taking initiative to achieve proficiency and high performance. So, the question is, why does this matter? Well, outcome-based assessment is student-centered. It helps students become more self-directed and effective learners. Students know exactly what they need to know, like do learning activities to help learn and tested only on the outcomes.